Hi, this is the RPG Renegade, and I'm making this channel and this video in light of the new OGL debacle that's been happening on the internet recently. You've probably noticed this on several channels. D&D is basically up in flames, and you're wondering, well, what the hell does this have to do with me? Well, if you're in the TTRPG hobby or even play certain video games that are based on D&D, this will affect those games dramatically. Now, I'm gonna give you a short TLDR of the whole situation. I'm gonna explain what's been happening in the past few weeks, basically summing up all the videos and all the stuff that you can look at in detail if you want to get more details on the thing, and tell you what we can do from this point on if you want to continue enjoying the hobby, especially if you're into virtual tabletop, because this will affect all of those things. Now, for those of you who don't know who I am basically a TTRPG developer. I've been playing D&D since 2013. I guess I've played a lot of D&D based games before that were based on 3E and 2E. I have published my own stuff on the DM's Guild, and I've also made my own TTRPG, which has nothing to do with the OGL. More on that later if you're interested. Now, for those of you that don't know, D&D is owned by Wizards of the Coast, and the Wizards of the Coast is a company that is a subsidiary to Hasbro, which is the biggest gaming company on the planet. When the 5th edition of D&D came out, Wizards of the Coast decided to make an open gaming license based on 5e, which would allow people to actually make their own creations, so third-party developers would be able to make their own supplements, their own classes, their own adventures, yada yada yada, all based on Wizards of the Coast without infringing on the copyright of the copyrighted material that Wizards of the Coast has. For example, the Beholder is like a copyrighted creature from Wizards of the Coast, but you could reference Beholders and you can have like Beholder stat blocks in your adventure because it's just a part of your adventure. It was sort of a borrowed copyright, if you will. Fast forward to beginning of January, and basically Wizards of the Coast decided that this 1.0 OGL is no good for them because they want to get rid of all their competition. So what happened was there was a leak from Wizards of the Coast. Basically, they leaked the document for the new proposed OGL 1.1, which would replace the old OGL. Now, what was in this document was very shocking because what they stated was they would start taxing people who had a certain amount of income. I believe it was $750,000 per year. Now, that's a lot of money, and not a lot of people can actually make a living like that and make that much money, so it wouldn't affect them. But companies would be forced to pay like 25% of their gross revenue when they exceed that amount. It would just destroy a lot of third-party companies that were based on the OGL. This not only included Paizo, which was responsible for Pathfinder, which was sort of an offshoot of D&D back in early 2000 when 4th edition came out and was not based on the OGL. So they basically made their offshoot, and when the OGL came out, they based a lot of what Pathfinder was on the OGL material. It also affects a lot of different developers, like maybe those that create the OSR. It's kind of unclear on where the issue is in that sense, but a lot of companies would be screwed by this OGL. Not only that, they also went after creators on YouTube who would create videos based on D&D. And the worst thing about all of this is that the new OGL stated that the old OGL would be deauthorized, meaning it could not be used anymore. And that's the part that pissed off people the most. The only way you could bypass this is if you sign the new 1.1 OGL, which means you can only publish stuff under the 1.1 OGL, and not only that, Wizards would be able to steal your stuff that you make at any point and call it their own, and not give you anything for it. So naturally, this pissed off the community to no end, and they just bombarded the tweets and the website of Wizards of the Coast that this is not fair. You can't just do this. You can't just deauthorize the OGL, which is extremely widespread, yada yada yada. So basically, there was a big uproar. But because this was a leak, Wizards of the Coast didn't really respond, although they could have just said, well, this is just a weird draft that we put out or something, which it wasn't, by the way. It was pretty legit. Lawyers looked at it, they looked at the whole thing, and they said, this is legit. So they went radio silent. Now, during that time, a lot of people were examining this OGL, and because Wizards had no comment on it, Paizo then came out, the creators of Pathfinder, and they said that they were going to create their own gaming license called Orc. And this gaming license could not be revoked. and it would last basically forever. Now, I have my thoughts on that. I don't know if that's exactly the case. We would have to see the actual document that they proposed, which they're still in the process of making. People are getting super excited about that. I think it might be another trap, but we'll see. And after all the debacle, Wizards of the Coast finally put out a statement. They basically said that the 1.1 proposed draft, quote unquote, is being scrapped, and they're making OGL 2.0. And if you want to check out the statement, I'll put it on the screen. Everything I'm talking about here, you will have links to in the description, so you can all check out this stuff in detail. So they put out a press release saying that we did a bad thing and we weren't trying to infringe on anybody's rights, yada yada yada, which they clearly were, because we all read the document, we all saw what they wanted to do, and it wasn't a draft, it was basically already proposed to people. They probably made NDA disclosures with certain developers already before even releasing this. So now they scrapped it, now they're making 2.0. Now we don't know what's gonna be in the 2.0, but what they're saying is in this statement that they're not basically changing anything. They're changing a few minor things, but the things that pissed off people the most, for example, the scraping of OGL 1.0, they're still going forward with that because, and this is my theory, they're in a situation where they have to go forward, because if they go backward, they've already played their hand. They've already revealed themselves for what they are. And also, in case you didn't know, Wizards of the Coast is run by a lot of woke mentality people who were supporting this new OGL, because what this new OGL would do is it would consolidate power. It would get rid of all the competition, and they can control everyone who's in this hobby. They specifically even stated in the OGL that they could just decide at any one point that your content that you're making is homophobic or transphobic or whatever, bigoted, whatever they deem to be the theme that week, and then they basically just shut you down. And they could do this at any point. So, the aftermath. What happened was a lot of people now canceled their D&D Beyond accounts. D&D Beyond is basically this website where people can go and make their characters, check out the basic rules, and even it has some sort of limited virtual tabletop capability. I haven't gone too deep into this, but basically, primarily people go there to create characters. It has like these character creation tools and yada yada yada. So a lot of people canceled their subscriptions on that site, including myself. I wasn't even subscribed, but I still deleted my account. What happened afterwards, this came out recently, is that Penny Arcade and Critical Role also made their own statements. Now, I have my own thoughts on Critical Role. I'll maybe save that for another video. But Penny Arcade basically put out a statement that, you guys did a big mistake and it's gonna backfire. That's the TLDR of the whole thing. Critical Role basically gave a non-statement. They basically said some weird stuff about, we're basically keeping an eye on this, and we hope it all works out fine. Just like a nothing burger. They basically said nothing. A lot of people theorize because they have NDAs and they can't talk about this stuff. I'm pretty sure Wizard already gave them a separate contract of some kind, not based off on GL. That's my theory. And now, the end of this whole debacle is the wait for OGL 2.0. And to see what the OGL 2.0 will actually say. They haven't actually given us a draft on that, as far as I'm concerned. Maybe at the time of this creation of this video, maybe it has. If it does, I'll make another video on it. So the question is, what to do now? D&D is in flames. People are rejecting Wizards of the Coast. They hate the way they've been handling customers. I had this sentiment way before this happened, because I saw the cracks forming in Wizards of the Coast way before this happened. This is just their final showing of their hand. But what you can do is tell Wizards of the Coast to basically go and F themselves and explore other alternatives. There's hundreds, if not thousands, of role-playing games out there. A lot of them are based on the OGL, but a lot of them are not. So I would encourage you to explore other alternatives. I already mentioned Pathfinder. Then there's, Call of Cthulhu, I believe it's their own thing. Vampire the Masquerade, their own thing as well. And they all have like these, decades of released content. A lot of them, even some of the new ones, are worth exploring. There's a whole website dedicated to this called Drive-Thru-RPG, and you should definitely check it out because those people don't hate you. In contrast to Wizards of the Coast, or WotC, let's just call them WotC because we know what they are. In contrast to them, we don't hate you. We cherish the customer because we want you to buy our stuff. We want you to have fun, and we also don't put politics on most of our stuff. You might find stuff that is based on that, and that's my theory on Paizo, is they put a lot of woke stuff in their products, but again, stuff for another video. But mostly it's very on the level, especially the OSR is a acronym for Old School Revival. It was an offshoot that happened probably about the same time that Pathfinder came out. It was like very much old school D&D. It was an expansion of the old school rules, and they basically just continued on that philosophy and made it, you know, more optimized, more streamlined, if you will. And so those are your options. And here's my own personal prediction of the future on what is gonna happen. I think WotC is gonna put out a 2.0 version, which will be a slightly more tame version of the previous one, but the biggest issues will still be there because they have to go through with them, because they're committed, because their woke staff will not let them basically step back from this. Neither will the corporate scum who wrote it up. So they will go through with this. I guarantee you they will not back down. And even if they do, they already lost the trust of the public. A lot of people are just saying D&D is dead. Even if they go all the way back from this, they will lose at least, I'm saying, 50% of their customer base. At least. What's gonna happen is a lot of people who are now even saying, no, I'm not gonna go into the new OGL 1.1 or 2.0 or whatever, a lot of them will go with the OGL 2.0 because a lot of them do make a living even on YouTube just from 5e videos that they make or 5e products that they make. So a lot of them will bend the knee, but a lot of them will also go away and distance themselves from WotC, which means there'll be another split in the community. This has not happened the first time. This has happened many times before. When the 4th edition came out, it was a very similar situation. It split the community, and that's how Pathfinder even began to exist in the first place, because a lot of people didn't want to go with 4e, and so they made their own system or a continuation of the what they wanted D&D to be. So what's gonna happen is a lot of products are gonna pop up. A lot of people are gonna just scrape all the OGL stuff from their products and make completely new stuff. Now, how this is gonna work, I don't know. It's gonna be difficult because I think especially for Paizo, even 2nd edition has a lot of its own stuff that's not really related to the OGL anymore. I still think they do have a lot of stuff that Wizards could construe as OGL related. I think anything they'll have, like, you know, those famous 13 or so classes, you know, Barbarian, Cleric, Fighter, yada yada yada, and how they work, they could just say, yeah, that's brand confusion, and a lot of the stuff will be argued in court. Now, who's gonna win, we don't know, but we do know that Hasbro is a massive company that has a massive amount of lawyers, and they're going to basically push out smaller creators. They're going to sue them. They're going to battle this out in court. And even though they're wrong, even though the law is technically not on their side, I think. I'm not a lawyer, but I've listened to lawyers on this situation. Even though that's the case, they're just gonna bully people with their lawsuits, because a lot of people, if they want to defend themselves, they gotta pay their own lawyers, and a lot of people can't afford them. And Wizards of the Coast can just keep paying their lawyers over and over again and just keep going and just keep filing lawsuits. And a lot of people are just gonna bend the knee and either cease and desist or change to a new system. Now, I hope what's going to happen is they're going to change to a new system, which will probably bring us to a new RPG renaissance. That's my prediction. People are just going to be so sick of D&D and what's it become attached to, they're going to start looking for something new. And so this is a good thing, honestly, for us small creators, because I think we've been waiting for this for a long time in a way, because we already saw the cracks in the last decade or even more. I think this will bring people together, and it already has. You can already see a lot of people wouldn't even talk to each other before in the D&D community are now coming together and saying this is BS. Just stop doing this. It is bringing people together, which is a good thing. Although I would say that the whole problem in the first place was calling this a D&D community, which it wasn't. It was a D&D hobby. And if you like certain people in that hobby, that's great. But don't call it a community, because the people who started calling it a community was WotC. And they specifically said they don't want certain people in their community. Even despite all of this inclusivity and diversity crap, they don't want certain people in their group, and they want only certain people. People who align with their ideologies. So I would caution people from spreading this whole it's a community thing, because it's not. D&D is not a community, it's a hobby. And hopefully it's returning back to the hobby. Now, pretty much at the end of this video, so I would just like to advertise my own work now. If you are interested in checking something out that's not D&D, like I said, I support the customer, I like the customer because they buy my stuff, and while I don't bend the knee to the customer or their ideologies, I've made it 100% my duty to put out stuff that is not only 100% OGL free, it is also 100% politics free. Now, in-game politics, great. Out-of-game politics, no. So I would like to present to you my role-playing game called Edge. It is on DriveThruRPG. Now, I'm a indie developer, I don't have a lot of money, so I'm in the process of actually finding a proper publisher for this to make the proper artwork and the design. The current design and the artwork is basically royalty-free, and I made it myself using Photoshop in my own time. But that being said, the game is playable. I've run probably about 51 shots, about 2 campaigns. 2 of them didn't work out because of scheduling issues, but the 3rd one is still going strong. You have 3 separate timelines in the same setting. You have the classic fantasy, high medieval, high magic, sort of D&D-like setting, even though it has nothing to do with D&D. It doesn't even have elves or orcs or anything like that. It's something completely different that I made from scratch. You have the second timeline, which is basically a modern sort of dystopia post-apocalypse setting. Think Fallout meets Shadowrun kind of thing, but again, nothing relating to those games, just sort of the style. And then you have the 3rd timeline, which is sci-fi. It's basically space opera, sci-fi, you know, spaceships, space exploration, all that kind of good stuff. So you have 3 different settings basically, or 3 different timelines within the same setting that you can play in. The rules are all the same, so the rule book is the same for all 3, and whatever you choose to play in, there's pretty much something in this for everyone. That's why I made 3 different timelines, because I know that certain people just like fantasy, while other people don't like fantasy, they like modern stuff. So I made all 3 to basically give each of you your own stuff. So give it a shot, you know, check it out on DriveThru, see if you like it. If you do, drop a review. And as a part of this video, I'm actually going to give away 10 free copies. There's a link in the description. I'm going to give away 10 free copies of each book, just as a promotional thing. And hopefully it will continue to grow and we can make something out of it. Now, this channel is new. I don't know if I'm going to continue making videos like this. I will definitely post some stuff relating to my game on this channel, but I'll probably, if this OGL debacle continues, I'll make more videos on that. If some other gaming drama relating to tabletop or similar things is gonna pop up, I'm gonna comment on that as well, probably, if you guys want me to. I don't know. This is a new thing. You tell me if I should continue this or not. Okay, well, thanks for watching, and make sure and, you know, like, subscribe, do all that stuff. You know the deal. And comment down below what you think of this whole thing. And I'll see you hopefully in the next video. Goodbye.